Hello everyone, I hope you're well out there and thank you for tuning in for today's Pikto webinar. My name is Wilson and I'm a project specialist with Piktochart. I'm so glad that you were able to join us for today's Pikto webinar on how to visualize a perfect annual report for the end of the year reporting. Without any further delay, I'd like to hand the time over to my colleague and our speaker for today's webinar, Stephanie, who is our communication designer at Piktochart. Over to you, Steph.
All right, thanks, Wilson. Hi, everyone. As mentioned earlier, it's a pleasure to have you guys join us today for the webinar. And so without wasting any more time, I'm going to jump straight into it. So a quick overview of what you can expect from this webinar. It'll be broken down to mainly two sections. Firstly, I'll be running through some quick visual communication or design tips that you can keep in mind when designing your annual report or any piece of editorial for that matter. And secondly, we'll be showing you a demo of how you can create your own annual report or annual review presentation with Piktochart. I do hope that by the end of this webinar, you would be equipped and confident enough to take the first steps of creating an annual report that will be able to communicate what you want to say effectively and aesthetically. Let's go into the first section, which is visual communication or design tips. So the first thing I want to highlight is hierarchy. So what is hierarchy? So hierarchy essentially lets the reader know where to look first. So if you notice the two examples I have here, the one on the left having a stronger hierarchy and the one on the right with little to no hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is essentially the principle of arranging elements to show the order of their importance. And having hierarchy is going to be very crucial because in your annual report or review, there's going to be a lot of information and a lot of data, and you want to be able to guide your readers through all that information so that they can understand and absorb a lot quicker and a lot more effectively what you want to say. A quick example of the importance of hierarchy or how hierarchy can kind of guide your readers. How do you create hierarchy? How would I create hierarchy in my design? There are many ways to go about doing it. There are a lot of things that you can change to create hierarchy, but I'm just going to highlight three simple ones that you can always consider first and that are very effective. So the first one is size. Readers would naturally notice larger elements a lot easier and a lot faster. So you can always adjust the size of the fonts, the size of the images, any of your graphic elements that you want to draw attention to first. Adjusting the size is a good way of creating hierarchy. That's why you would notice titles are usually bigger, then they're followed by subtitles and the body copy. Another aspect that you can change is colors. Bright colors would typically attract more attention than muted ones. So colors is also something you can play around with. The brighter the color, the faster people will see it as compared to a more muted color. And the last one would be contrast. Dramatically contrasted colors are definitely more eye-catching. And that is going to lead me to my next tip, which is contrast. So contrast is what people mean when they say like the design pops. It feels like it comes away from the page and it sticks better in your memory. So if you notice on the examples on the right-hand side, an example of a high contrast visual and a low contrast visual. Aside from grabbing attention, contrast is very important in ensuring that your words can be easily and quickly read. And if you play with contrast, you will be able to use it to create hierarchy as well. So once again, if you see in these examples, if you don't have proper contrast, it can be very difficult to read something as compared to if you had proper contrast. The next design tip that I'm going to cover is fonts. So once again, using different sizes. And also when using fonts, I would recommend the amount of fonts you use in one page. So try not to use more than 2 or 3 types. This would help with the overall look as well as your branding to help it look like they belong together. So if you look at the examples on the right, try to keep them clean. Also, be careful not to use too many fancy fonts together because that will probably affect the readability of it and it might be too confusing. The last design tip that I'm going to quickly cover today would be try to be consistent when choosing icons. Similar to fonts, if you use too many different styles, they won't look like they belong together and they will look very disconnected. Again, they will need to share the same style throughout the whole design. If not, the overall design will probably look messy and cluttered and not as professional. And so an ultimate tip that I will give you to help you make good design decisions is when making any design-based decision, always ensure that it doesn't get in the way of your design communicating. And what I mean by that is, so when you're choosing colors or sizes or the types of fonts, always make sure that it's easy to read and that your point gets across effectively. You know, like the choices of colors that you use don't get in the way of people reading the words. So that's one ultimate tip I'll give in terms of when you're making any design-based decisions. All right, so now we're gonna jump into the demo. Don't worry if you don't remember the tips I mentioned. I will do a quick recap at the end, and hopefully even as I begin the demo, you'll kind of see how the design tips can be applied even when you're doing the annual report. So let me just quickly share my screen. So now I'm going to jump into how you can create your own annual report with Piktochart. What you are looking at now is our dashboard in our Piktochart editor. So as you can see, we have different types of formats that you can choose from. So we have infographics, we have presentations, posters. All right. And for the purpose of today's presentation, I'm going to show you our annual reports in our report format. All right. So, okay, let's use the first one as an example for our demo. So you just click Use Template. All right. So now that this is loaded, so this is an example template of what we have for our annual report. The templates we have here are just a guide for you to start off on your annual report. I understand that the content will, of course, vary for different companies. But what I'm going to do now is just run through with you how you can personalize this annual report for your company's use. Okay, so as you can see here on the front page, the first thing I'm going to show you is, okay, let's say I want to change the color scheme. So usually in our templates, we have preset a couple of color themes that you can choose from if you're not happy with the default one. So if you would just go to color scheme here on the bottom left, and we have these built-in color schemes for you to choose from. So let's say you can test them out and see which one would be the most suitable for you. And let's say none of these are really suitable for the company. And let's say your company has an existing set of colors that you have to follow. So no problem. What you can do is actually, if you just go to your account here, there's this thing called brand assets. So what you do is you just select that. And I'm going to show you how you can extract colors from any picture or any logo. So if I just browse images, okay, very quickly, I'll just show you an example. Let's say, okay, I'm going to use this. All right. And if you notice, what it does is it extracts the colors from the logo, you know, or okay, let's say I'm going to just very quickly show you another example. And you see the colors change according to the image that's been uploaded. So all right, let's say we go with this one, this property one. All right, and what you can do is if you're not happy with some of these colors or if you want to change it, you can do so. You just select and then you can change the colors. You can open the spectrum, the hue here. Okay, you can even remove colors. So let's say this gray doesn't really belong in the logo, but it kind of just fills it in because there wasn't enough colors. So I can just remove that. And with brand assets, you can even upload your own fonts. So over here, you can upload any fonts you need if your company has a specific font that they use to maintain brand consistency. All right, so let's say, okay, I'm happy with this. I'll just go ahead and save changes. So it says you've successfully updated. So if we go back and I just refresh the page quickly, you would notice that your colors have already, they should appear. If you just select an object, it should appear here under my colors. So what you can do now is, if you want to apply it to this whole template, you just go back to color scheme, create a new color scheme. Let's say company, right? Okay, and then you can actually just go ahead and adjust the color. So this was the color scheme that we saved earlier. You can just replace it with the colors from earlier. And there you have. an annual report that is based off your company's colors. Yep, so you can go ahead, insert your logo here, change the words accordingly. If you notice here, this is a photo frame. And what photo frames do is it makes it easier for you to replace photos. Let's say you can upload any personal photos or any of your company's photos over here. Or if you don't have any, we have an integration with Unsplash. And so all you have to do is just go under graphics into photos. And you can search for any photos. And let's say, okay, I choose this one. Just click on it and then just drop it over. And the photo will be instantly replaced. Okay, let's move on to the next pages. So again, if you see on this CEO's page, you can upload your own photo and then replace it accordingly. Yeah, or over here we have a team page. Similar again, already have these predetermined photo frames in which you can just replace the photos quickly. Or another function that we have is actually masking. So what you can do is, let's say you have a photo. Okay, I want to add another photo, but this time I want it to be in a slightly different shape. You can just pick a shape, or you can type any shape here in the icon section. And what you can do is you can actually mask it very quickly. And there you have, yeah, a masked image. So that's also another quick option that you can consider. You can add your vision and mission here. You can go ahead and add any photo frames if needed. Okay, let's go on to this product and services page. Remember earlier, I said to ensure the consistency of your icons. So as I said, try to make sure that the types of icons that you choose are the similar styling. Let's say if you want to change the icons, you can just search here. We've got a pretty wide array of icons that you can choose from. Let's say I search light bulb, right? Light bulb. So yeah, we've got different options. So we've got even lined icons or these glyph icons or colored icons, which you can also categorize here. So mono means single colored icons, in which, of course, after that you can change the color as well. Or we have existing colored icons. So feel free to play around and just ensure that the icons you choose are that of similar styling. Again, we've got another photo frame here. Okay, and let's say this layout doesn't really suit the content that I have, and you kind of need inspiration or you're not sure how to create another layout. No worries. What you can do is you can go ahead into design components and go to list. Let's say you're interested in finding a different type of list, maybe one that has a little bit more description. So let me just remove this quickly. And let's say, oh, okay, maybe I'd like to try this one. Okay, so as you can see, this will be added in. Right. And what you can do is you can edit it. So you just have to ungroup it, remove the elements that you don't think you'll need. Okay, just quickly select all. And remember, you had the colors from your brand assets earlier, so you can just change it quickly. And there you have a new layout that you can play around with and try. So you can even change all the colors of these icons. All right, so there. So feel free to look around. We've got, in the design components, we've got lists, we've got timelines, comparisons. Feel free to have a page breaker from your annual report. You can put in a quote from the CEO or a quote from your employees. Once again, there's a photo frame here in which you can very quickly replace your images. All right, and let's say we go to, okay, global review. And over here, we have this infographic. Let's say, okay, I don't really need this infographic, but I kind of want to show a global overview. What you can do is you can go to tools. Okay, let me just remove this very quickly. All right, and we actually have this map function. So what you can do is you can click on it. And you can insert a whole map, and this map is completely customizable. So let's say you can even go by regions, or let's say I only want to include the states. So you can go ahead and edit this map. And as you can see, you can change the map color. So yeah, to anything. You can even change the color of the border. Let's keep it white. And let's say I want to highlight certain states. So for example, maybe California. You can even change the colors of the states individually. And New Mexico. And again, you can add a different color. What you can do as well is you can also hide these states if you don't want to show them, or you can just show them again. When you hover over, you can even add, so right now it's population. If you want to add more columns, you can do so here, this plus sign. Okay. If you go to data visualization, there's a lot more personalization that can be done if needed. So you can play around, and then you can go ahead and let's say, let's insert this map. And there you go. You've got a customizable map, and anytime you need to go back and edit it, you can just go ahead and click on this pencil icon. So you can adjust it accordingly. And there you have. All right. Also, we have a table here that you can personalize and edit as well. All right. And if we jump into the annual review page, let's say you have some chart to show. We've got like a pretty extensive selection of charts that you can choose from, which you can add here again in tools. Or either that you can just edit the existing charts we have here as well. So if you just click on this pencil, again, you can see the different charts that you can choose from. You can feel free to select the ones that suit your data the best. And so you can include and insert all your data here. You can also import your data from any Google Sheet or any Excel sheet. And we even have this thing, dynamic data. So you can just put in a Google Sheet link. And as you're updating your data, it should update in the charts as well. So once again, you can add your title here. And if you see this gear on the right, the top right, it gives you more options for customizing. You can change the colors accordingly. Yeah, and then you can just go ahead and click apply changes. So yeah, and let's say I'm done. I'm quite happy with how this annual report looks. You can go ahead and download it. You can download them as images if needed. You can go ahead and download them in PDF. You can go for a lower quality if you need to send it via email, or high quality if you need to send it for print. So you can go ahead and just download that. Another option is you can share. So you can make this link public. It can be password corrected. You can copy this link if you need to share this PDF with others as well. And so yeah, I think that's the end of the demo for this template. So feel free to have a look at the templates we have in our editor. Let's say you need to do an annual review, but in presentation form. You can check out our presentations. And even though we may not have an exact template for annual report, you can actually just check out our other existing templates. For example, we've got a lot of status reports, monthly financial reports. So for example, this annual financial report, you can go ahead and edit accordingly. Yeah, if you need to show presentations instead of PDFs. We've got some infographics as well that you can check out. So feel free to have a look and customize these templates according to the information and content that you have. So let me quickly recap from the start. Design tips. As I mentioned earlier, hierarchy. Hierarchy helps readers navigate the content a lot easier. Hierarchy is very important for annual reports and any design for that matter, especially if you've got a lot of content and a lot of data. You want to help your readers go through that data a lot easier. Contrast. Ensure there's enough contrast between the background and your words so that the words can be read clearly. Also, fonts and icons. Again, fonts, if you use different sizes, you can create a lot of different contrast and hierarchy. And remember to avoid using too many fonts together. Similar with icons, try to ensure consistency. Choose the same styling so that it will look cohesive and professional. And once again, the ultimate tip that I gave just now, remember that in whatever design choices you make, ask yourself if those choices will help you communicate clearer and more efficiently. So again, for the quick recap for the demo, if you choose a template, you can always change the color schemes, or if you want, you can upload your own brand assets, which include colors and fonts, and you can apply them to those templates as well. Remember that we've also got a lot of assets available. By assets, I mean images and icons that you can choose from. So you can choose from an array of images and icons to make your report look a lot more visual. We also covered photo frames and masking. And what those do is they help you easily replace and mask photos according to the desired shapes you want. We also have design components. If ever you get stuck or you want to change the layout slightly, you can add these quick pre-designed lists, timelines, or comparison components to switch up your layout a bit more. And lastly, we have our maps and charts feature, which help you visualize your data effortlessly. That's it from me today. I hope all these pointers would have helped you feel more equipped and more confident to take the first steps in creating an annual report for your company that will communicate what you want to say more effectively and more aesthetically. So over to you, Wilson.
Thank you, Steph, for sharing so many valuable insights and learnings with us today. I trust that our audience has learned a lot of helpful tips to visualize a successful annual report. I'd also like to remind you that you can schedule a free demo session with us to learn about using Piktochart for your organization. So feel free to book a slot with us. I'd like to thank Steph for sharing with us some key ingredients to make up an excellent recipe for the perfect annual report. Finally, do stay connected with Steph or myself, and you can reach us via email or find us on LinkedIn. Feel free to also follow Piktochart on our social media channels as we share visual communication tips and resources. That's the end of our webinar today, and we hope you've learned some valuable tips on visualizing a perfect annual report for end of the year reporting. From us at Piktochart, we wish you all the best and thank you for joining our Pikto webinar. Goodbye.